Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Venu's Weekly Cricket Catch Up. I've got Fizan with me again. How you doing, Fizan?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. A new year, new me, new cricket to look forward to watching. So I'm looking forward to
New
it.
me. You're still the same, Fizan.
Everyone says new me. So what's my New Year's resolution? To watch more cricket, maybe? I don't know. Get regular content out for everyone. Who knows? But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the year ahead. Hopefully, we get to see a lot of good cricket, and obviously back end of this year as well, T20 tournament as well. So
And the Ashes.
and the Ashes, yep. There's loads of cricket
Loads
on,
of
isn't
cricket.
there? Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a really good year for cricket. And yeah, and still going on given the circumstances, which is even more impressive. So yeah. So a number of topics we're going to discuss. So you know how this works. We just talk about all things cricket that's happened this week. So basically we're going to talk about what's happened this week that we thought we would condense down to around an hour. So first up, I'm going to review. There's 2 test matches started today, Fizan. So the first test match that started is the second test match between New Zealand and Pakistan. So let's review that. So day 1, Pakistan ended the day on 297. Some brilliant batting from Azhar Ali and Mohammad Rizwan, who's having a good tour at the moment. And and some really good bowling from Pakistan, especially thanks to Kyle Jamieson. Did you see the ball he got to? Who did he get out? Yeah,
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
Carl Jamieson is just ridiculous, isn't he?
So what do you think of Pakistan's performance, considering you're a Pakistan fan, Fizan?
If you'd actually said to me before the day, here's 297. Do you want to take it or see how it goes? I would have said, let's take the 297. So I'm actually pretty happy with it, to be honest with you. It was a little bit disappointing just because at one point we were 227 for 5. We were 171 for 4 even, sorry. And Rizwan and Azhar Ali were both in. And they were both on 50. So we kind of looked like, if one of them could push on to 100, which Azhar Ali nearly did, then it would have been, we would have got past that 300 mark, which I think personally is a pretty good total on this track. It's a green top. It looks even more bowler friendly than the first pitch in the first test match, if I'm honest with you. And that's why I think they picked Daryl Mitchell instead of Mitchell Santner, New Zealand. And obviously Matt Henry came in for the injured Neil Wagner. So obviously Henry's good, but Wagner's been so good, as you've mentioned as well, as of late, the bouncer king for New Zealand. And I think we targeted him quite well. He went for 4 and over, and we just made sure that we, played him quite well. And I think even Trent Boult we played on the whole quite well until later on the day where he cleaned up the tail. But yeah, Rizwan, really happy 3 consecutive 50s for him now. So he's in really good form. Azhar Ali needs some runs, so good to see him get some. And Fahim Ashraf got some runs, 48 as well. So yeah, everyone kind of chipped in, and Zafar Gohar got 34 in his debut as well. So his test debut, I think it was. So his left arm spinner. So yeah, I think all in all, happy. Carl Jamieson, as you said, that ball that he bowled to Far Dunham was just ridiculous. I mean, it's just almost unplayable. So it's a shame because obviously he hit 100, a really good 100 in the first test in that second innings. So it would have been nice to see him get more. But yeah, Carl Jamieson is, I think, probably the most informed test bowler at the moment, I'd say. So Pfeiffer for him, another one. And yeah, I'm happy. Hopefully we can do a similar job with the ball tomorrow. And I think early wickets will be key. But so far, I'm okay with it. I'm pleasantly happy, I think, at the moment.
Well, good. So as a neutral, I think this is a test match to watch. I think hopefully, Pakistan can, restrict New Zealand so that it makes it an even contest going forward. But something is certainly tune in to day 2. And the second test match that has started is the second test between South Africa and Sri Lanka at Johannesburg. So this match is currently ahead. So I must say it's basically South Africa's first 11 versus Sri Lanka's second 11 after the amount of injuries Sri Lanka have picked up from last test. So there's no there is no, I believe, no Chandimal,
Yep. No Danjay De Silva.
no Dhananjaya De Silva,
No
no Kasim
Rajitha, is it?
Rajifa,
Yeah.
no Hasaranga.
No, Hasranga's playing.
Is he?
Yeah.
No, he's not there, mate.
Yeah, when Indu Hasaranga. He got 29 in the first innings, batting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at 8. One Indu Hasaranga, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Because on Cricket Info, he's PWH De Silva.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't
That's
know
so
why,
weird.
but they have
Okay, fair enough.
even like for Pakistan, BBC had Zafar Goha as Khan. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's their middle names or something. But
Oh yeah, he's taking his middle name.
yeah.
Fair enough. So just making the point. Obviously, Sri Lanka have had a depleted team, but and we have discussed the idea of substitutions in cricket. So do look at last week's cricket catch up for a full length discussion. But Sri Lanka bowled out for 157. Not an excellent first innings total. So a good innings from Kusu Pereira. And basically Mulder made the initial breakthroughs early on, getting Pereira, Tiraman, Mendes out. And then Nokia came in and kind of blew away the tail and the middle order. And I think his career best 6 wickets for 56 runs. So fair play to Nokia and fair play to South Africa. They're currently, Dean Elgar is still making runs. So he's currently on 49. And South Africa are 70 for 1 of 21 overs. And they're probably looking to, to be honest, they're going to get an innings lead of maybe 200 plus, is looking like. And South Africa are clearly in the driving seat of this test match, Fizan. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I think Kusu Pereira was a good knocker. It really, again, like a strike rate of just under 90, you just really want him to go on and get that 100 and push on. He's one of those players that's so dangerous when he's in. So if he gets 100, you probably back him to then go big as well. So as he obviously did in the South Africa tour last year, I think it was, or the last time they toured South Africa anyway. Hasaranga and Chamira gave up a little bit of resistance towards the end. Hasaranga again batting quite well, but Nokia just Mould, obviously, as you said, bowled really well, 3 wickets, only from 7 overs as well. And he got the really important wicket of Pereira, and then Nokia just blew them away. The ridiculous Yorker at the end. It's obviously it was a tail end. He cleaned up the number 11, Sitha Fernando, but it was just so quick. And he's exciting to watch, Nokia, when he's on form like this. Dean Elgar is on ridiculous form. His strike rate used to be like 30 in most innings, but now it's like above 70, and he's hitting the ball very cleanly and trying to be more proactive, which is quite interesting. He also, worth noting, he went past 4,000 runs, I saw as well. So fair play to him, good milestone. And I think, as you said, he's odds on to get 50 or 100 here. And it's a shame because of the injuries, because it is pretty much. I mean, South Africa also got Rabada's injured, but apart from that, they're pretty much full strength. Then Sri Lanka obviously have a lot of injuries, so it's a shame. After the first day or two of the first test were quite good, but yeah. Oh well, hopefully everyone recovers and they're all fit for the home series against England, which obviously I'm sure we'll touch upon. But yeah, I think this looks like South Africa are gonna run away with this again.
Yeah, and it's a bit of as a neutral. Well, I guess as neutral, Fazan, it's kind of a shame, isn't it? Really, the series, it hasn't been as close as the New Zealand-Pakistan series, which there's been some good cricket. And to be honest, the first day of the first Test match of the Sri Lanka-South Africa Test match seemed good, but since the injuries, it's really soured the tour, and I think that's something the ICC have to talk about. I'm not just saying it because I'm a Sri Lankan fan. I think it's actually ruined the Test series. Wouldn't you agree, Fazan?
Yeah, it's definitely ruined it, I think. I don't know what to do about it, to be honest with you. It's a weird one. The only thing is, I guess you could say, is that the first test, obviously, if they had the injury subs and they won it, then fair enough. Maybe the momentum then comes to the second test, but the second test lineup would have been the same because obviously the injuries are just injuries, right? You can't do anything about that. As in,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is obviously the subs are technically, they're playing at the moment. So, but maybe Sri Lanka would have won that test, or at least be more competitive. So we would have got at least one out of the two test matches being well fought. And if Sri Lanka had given a better showing, maybe they would have come in with more confidence as well. So I think either way, yeah, it needs to be looked at. It's really unfortunate. It's just one of those things, and I'm sure Sri Lanka will look better at home, especially and against a stronger England side than, if I'm honest, than South Africa. And if they're fully fit, I think England is stronger than South Africa, in my opinion. Yeah, and if Sri Lanka have everyone fit, I think it's going to be a good tour.
Yeah. So on the subject of the upcoming England tour of Sri Lanka, 2 test matches in January. The first test match, let me check my diary. I'll have written my diary because that's how keen I am. The first test match starts on January the 14th on Galore, so not next week, the week after. And the England team have just arrived in Sri Lanka actually, today. And I saw a video of them actually on the news. They're getting sprayed with disinfectant in Sri Lanka, which I found quite funny. And yeah, it's quite a big series for England, in fact. And so they've got 2 tests in Sri Lanka, followed by 4 more tests in India, and ODIs and T20s. So I think England looking at this as a kind of a training period against India later on in the year. And so that's that. I'm looking forward to that tour. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see. There'll be Ben Stokes and Archer not playing. Ben Foakes will probably be playing, which I'm pleased about. So yeah, I think there'll be some good cricket on show for that series. Hopefully more Sri Lankan players will come back to full fitness. So yeah, looking forward to that. So that's that. So that's England, upcoming England tour of Sri Lanka. And another interesting thing, Kane Williamson, after his performance against Pakistan during the first test where he got a century, has started the new year as the #1 test batsman. This is the ICC rankings. And if New Zealand beat Pakistan this test match, in the second test match, they will also become the new #1 test team. So yeah, New Zealand cricket seems to be in a really good place. Wouldn't you agree, Fazan, at the moment?
Yeah, 100%. You said that the team to look out for in 2021. It looks like it's coming true in the first couple of days. Obviously, Kane Williamson, #1 test player now, at first #1 in 2021. And it looks like New Zealand, I mean, we'll see how the second test goes, as we've discussed, but if they were to win, they'll top it. And I think, you said about it being an important tour for England, that's because I think they need to win the Sri Lanka tour to have any chance of making that final at Lords. But New Zealand are they have the momentum, and they're definitely the informed side.
Yeah, 100%. They're, as we've said, definitely the team to look out for this year in all 3 formats, really. Okay, so that's that. Another test series going on that we've been keeping a close eye on is the Australia-India test series. So the next test match begins on the third test match begins on Wednesday, the 6th of January. So that's, I believe, at Sydney. So the Sydney test match was still given a green light to go ahead, despite there was an outbreak of COVID in the northern areas of Sydney. So the next 48 hours will be key in determining whether David Warner returns into their team, and Australia would like Warner in their team, as he will strengthen their batting, and because their batting has been a weak point this series as of late. And yes, apparently he's been in the nets. He's able to bat, but the issue is he's able to run between the wickets. But the issue is how he'll be able to field. So fielding is a bit of an issue for him. So he'll have some more training sessions and this weekend, and to give a clear indication of where he stands. Australia will want Warner in their team, wouldn't they? Fazan, any team would want Warner in their team. Let's be honest.
Yeah, pretty much. I think, David Warner is a big player for them. And I think even Will Pucovski, because now that they've dropped Joe Burns, I'm assuming that means that they'll want at least one of them in there with Matthew Wade. But I'm assuming that ideally they'd have both of them in. So interesting to see how it goes. I don't know if you had, but obviously the Indian players, I don't know if you're going to touch upon
Yeah,
this.
I'm going to mention this,
Yeah?
yes.
Okay, I'll leave it for you. But yeah, so hopefully we see David Warner, because we want to see the best players on display, of course, always.
Yeah, definitely. We always want a full shot Australian side, always good to watch. And as Fazan just mentioned there, a few Indian players have been placed in isolation as a precaution because there was a video posted on Twitter that showed them eating inside an indoor restaurant in Melbourne. And obviously this breaks COVID protocols, and the players will be allowed to continue training, but not with the rest of the group. So yeah, so these players were Rohit Sharma, Rishabh Pant, Shubman Gill, Prithvi Shaw, and Navdeep Saini. So they broke COVID protocols, and yeah, it seems like there will, there's not a serious punishment in terms of they're not going to play the next test match, but it's a bit silly that they clearly know what the rules are. A bit silly to potentially bring the tour into jeopardy. But probably the right thing to isolate them, and yeah, probably the right move going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I think I was just looking at articles, and apparently a fan paid for their lunch bill, saying it's the least I can do for my superstars. I just found that quite funny. Anyway,
Just cricketers.
Probably Indian fan in Australia. I'm sure there's a lot of them. But yeah, yeah, it's just very silly, isn't it? I think, and I don't know. I mean, surely these players now are now used to these protocols, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically these players have to be used to the protocols in place, and I just think it's one of those things that obviously with the IPL etc. as well, they would have had the same thing, that they're only allowed to do X, Y, and Z, and whatever other tournaments they've been in, or for example, a lot of these players have already been on the tour with India and Australia for a bit of time now, so they should know what they are. So it's just a bit silly considering they've already got some injuries. Like for example, Umesh Yadav is injured, so they brought in Natarajan and a couple of others as well. So they're obviously not. They still have a few exclusions as it is. So then to now put the tour, or the match, sorry, to put India, sorry, in a much weaker position going into the third test because of going to a restaurant is just silly. And the other thing as well is that I think the Indian team, after kind of being caught out, have said that they're not happy with the protocols in place. All the players have basically expressed concerns, or basically they don't want to be under such strict protocols, and they don't agree with it. And obviously, Cricket Australia, I think also some ministers in Australia have said, like, if you don't like it, then you don't need to be here. Basically, like, obviously, if you want to come to our country, you have to follow the rules, and I think that's fair enough. Like, and I'm not saying it. I'm not just saying this because I'm Pakistani and it's India, but even if it was Pakistan, I would have said the same thing. That look, if you're in a country, one, you have to follow their rules, and two, like, you don't get special treatment just because you're an elite sports person, and three, like, it's COVID, so it's quite, this is a serious thing. So if a country's putting in regulations for a purpose, which obviously they have because there've been outbreaks, then you just got to follow them and not moan about it. And if you're not happy with it, as they said, then you feel free to leave, and then that's up to them. But they're representing their country, so they need to represent them, and make sure that they're basically making sure that they, what's the word I'm trying to use, create a good example for people watching, and also listening, because people will be listening to this thinking, oh, they don't come across very, very good, but I'm sure there's nothing wrong with them as people. They just made a mistake, but it does have ramifications, in terms of not just the Indian side, but cricket in general, and people are looking at it thinking, oh, these sports people are not following rules, and they think that they're above it all. So just need to be careful with that as well, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I think you made a good point there. I think the Indian players do have to follow the rules that have been set in place, because the rules apply for everyone, and it's important for them to follow it and not put the tour into jeopardy, because we all want to see some good cricket. So moving on to franchise cricket now. So let's start with the Big Bash League because that's still going. So the Sydney Sixers still remain at the top of the table. Sydney Thunder are second, and Melbourne Renegades are right at the bottom on 5 points, having lost 6 out of the 7 matches. So the latest from that, I think the Perth Scorchers today beat the Melbourne Renegades earlier on today. Quite convincing display. And also, I think, yeah, so Sydney Thunder also looking good after beating the Melbourne Renegades as well. So it's looking at the top of the table. It's looking like a race between the Sydney teams, between the Sydney Sixers and the Sydney Thunder. The Sixers, after 7 matches, are on 21 points. Thunder, after 6 matches, on 19 points. And Hobart Hurricanes follow in 3rd place on 18 points. So I think they're halfway through now. I think they play each other twice, don't they? One away and one at home. Yeah. So yeah. So Sixers and Thunder are running. The Sixers are currently running away with it at the moment. And Thunder could go top of the table if they win their next match. So yeah. And in terms of the Big Bash League, which is a big shame here, Perth Scottish spinner Ashanega, who I think is a quality player, will not play in Big Bash League because he battles with a calf injury. That's a shame. And yeah, that's a shame, isn't it, Fizan?
Yeah, he's quality. He's obviously been very good for Australia recently. Has been quite important in their white ball format. Not as important as obviously someone like Adam Zampa, but especially as like an all-rounder. And one thing I actually wanted to point out is quite interesting is that obviously there's a lot of English players playing in the Big Bash. And not just England internationals. Like Dawud Milan, obviously I think he hit a really good 70 odd the other day, and we know how good he is in T20s and has been for England. And Jason Roy's playing, etc. But people like, for example, James Vince, who's been in and out of the team, even Danny Briggs, who hasn't really played a single match for England. Phil Salt as well, who's kind of been looked at for England, but again hasn't played. But he's a county player. So if you're interested in, you love your county cricket and love your T20 blast, then definitely give it a watch, I'd say, because Dan Christian obviously plays for Notts, but is Australian, so that's why he's in it as well. But Jake Ball's playing as well. So there's loads of different players that I think also one that we're quite familiar with, Jack Wills. Will Jacks even, sorry, Jack Wills. Will Jacks is playing and he's been quality for Surrey. So it's quite cool to see them get a chance, and I'm sure they're earning a little bit of money from it as well. So good on them. And yeah, because I guess that's the big thing from it. That's the positive thing from it. Sorry.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of off season at the moment in England at the moment.
Yeah.
I guess the counties are now ramping up pre-season training at the moment, but that's probably why a lot of England players are available to play in Australia, which is a good thing, and it's a competitive tournament, which is good, and also gets them ready for the Australia tour next season, next year. They get used to Australian conditions, so it's a win-win situation for the England players in playing in Australia in the Big Bash League. Yeah. Now that's
just quickly, I was going to say Alex Hales has been in pretty good form, hasn't he? So it's interesting to see whether England ever do look at him or whether he's just kind of been put to the side. I think he has been put to the side, but when he hits, I think he was like 70 odd off 30 balls, then you just see that he obviously is a very, very good player.
He is.
Especially as like Jason Roy hasn't been in very good form. And I think Jason Roy, I don't think he scored that many runs in the Big Bash. I might be wrong, but Hales has been doing better. So I don't know. We'll see. It's a really interesting topic. Maybe one for another day, but it's
I think Hales does deserve to be in England side on current form. Be interesting to see if he, what Morgan says about team dynamic and team culture. But there's definitely a case to be made for Alex Hales. That's for sure. So that's the Big Bash League wrapped up. Now moving to another franchise league, the IPL. So South African fast bowler Dale Steyn, the mighty Dale Steyn, has announced that he will not be playing in the 2021 edition of the IPL for his current franchise Royal Challengers Bangalore for this year, the 2021 season. And I think he is indicating that he wants some time off and he wants to continue to play in other leagues. and he also said that he was not retiring, so that's important. I know the day Dale Steyn retires from cricket will be a sad day, wouldn't it, Fizan? So it's good news that he's realizing that he has to manage his workload and also pursue other interests, whatever they might be. And his 37-year-old body can't take bowling all those overs and traveling all over the world. So I think it's a good move by him. Wouldn't you agree, Fizan?
Yeah, I agree. 100%. So hopefully he plays the PSL, which I might actually. I don't know if you're going to touch upon it, but Herschel Gibbs obviously was.
Yeah, I'm going to touch upon that.
Oh, sorry, go on, carry on. Sorry.
Why are you? Mate, I've got this all covered. What's wrong with you? It's meticulous.
I'm sabotaging your. Okay, sorry, carry on. Sorry.
It's the second time. Okay. So as Fizan rudely interrupted there, Herschel Gibbs, what quality player he was, Herschel Gibbs. Although didn't he lose the World Cup for South Africa? Didn't he?
Yeah, he dropped it, didn't he? I think it was.
Was it a war?
Semi-final, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, he dropped Mark Waugh or someone
against Australia.
Yeah.
The 99 World Cup, because that's when they won it against us. They played against Pakistan in the final. That's probably our best ever team, but they completely destroyed us.
Yeah.
In the final. I think it was then.
So Herschel Gibbs has been appointed head coach of the Karachi Kings, who in the PSL. And so Gibbs comes into a role that was previously held by the late Dean Jones, who sadly passed away in September. And the Karachi Kings won the maiden PSL title in November. So they're looking to build up the work done by Dean Jones. And Gibbs has got a lot of experience in T20 Franchise League. He has worked had a coaching stint with the Colombo Kings in the Lanka Premier League, and had coaching stints with Kuwait, and worked in Afghanistan domestic circuit as well, and Afghan T20 League. So he's clearly building up his coaching and credentials. So I think it's a good appointment. We didn't agree, Fizan.
Yeah, it is, and Karachi Kings are pretty strong. So also got Babar and Mohammed Amr and a few other really strong players. So yeah, that's a really good addition. Shame that he's stepped down from being the Colombo Kings coach, because I know sometimes they do a couple of teams, obviously because they're at different times, etc. But I'm really happy to see him in the PSL, and I'm sure he is such a good fielder back in the day that hopefully, even just his influence just with one franchise, hopefully it will just kind of, he'll be able to instill that fielding into some of the younger Pakistan players, even the current ones, and kind of drill them into it, and that'll be really good to see.
Yes, and I think that's all the franchise cricket wrapped up. So one final talking point for this week is the former Test and County umpire Jason Holder has reportedly lodged a claim against the England Cricket Board over alleged racial discrimination during his time employed by the ECB. And Holder and also another umpire, Ismail Dawood, they have accused the ECB for years of racism, and they are asking for an independent inquiry into why there is a lack of non-white officials in the English game. And they even gone a step further and are suing the ECB under the 2010 Equality Act, and they're also seeking compensation and a recommendation from the Employment Tribunal on the governing body's future conduct. So they are obviously not nice news to look at. However, it is good that they are making their views heard, and also hopefully it can change the cricket in this country, in England. Hopefully can improve it, and we can see more diverse officials, and also more players as well. Hopefully will increase the diversity of the players as well. So what do you think of that, Fizan?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think obviously there's a case to be made, and it should be brought forward, and hopefully it'll be fairly judged, etc. I think, I obviously want to see a more diverse umpiring and in coaching and umpiring.
Coaching, yes.
Yeah, in coaching and umpiring, and and obviously the teams as well. I think the one thing that I do want to say, because I think it's really important to point out, is that uh, I do want it to be diverse, but it's difficult because I don't think I wouldn't like to see, for example, something like in South Africa where they have, I think it's the Rooney Rule, or they
Yeah.
have to have a set number of players who are non-white, for example, in the team. But I'd like to think that we can get to a place where it's just everyone is picked on their merit, sorry, and picked on ability, and we don't need to worry about what the color of a person's skin is, because let's be honest, it's really irrelevant. It should be based upon their skill level, and the most skilled players make up the Euro 11, and that's pretty much it, and how they fit in, and that's how it should be. And I know there's obviously a little bit of cliqueiness about some teams where obviously they're mates with other players, etc., and it's hard to then drop them because the captain doesn't want them to be dropped, or they've got a bond or whatever. But I think when it comes down to it, I think the be on end all should be a person's ability and how they do in a team. And if they're doing well, then they should be picked. If not, then they should be dropped. And I think that's just how it is. And then it be consistent across the board. And it's difficult because obviously there will always be examples where there are anomalies or exceptions, but hopefully we can get to that point, because I think you and I have discussed it over the years. There's quite a few examples of, for example, Asian cricketers from England who I don't think have been given the same chances as maybe a non-Asian player for England. There's a couple of examples off the top of my head that I know. I won't say explicitly because I just think I could talk about it for ages. But yeah, so hopefully this is just part of that, where it's just awareness is made, and sometimes people subconsciously there's bias towards certain people just because that's how they're growing up. So if you're just made aware of it, sometimes you then stop to think, hold on, am I giving someone the benefit of the doubt more than someone else subconsciously? Because sometimes people don't even realize they're actively doing it. So that would be good as well. So I just think, a step in the right direction. So hopefully it doesn't get messy, and hopefully it's just resolved in the right way. And I'm sure going forward, the ECB, if they have done anything wrong, or they are seen as being the wrongdoers in the situation, that they'll rectify it going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, it does get resolved in a nice way, and hopefully it does, change the game for the better. So that's what we all want, given this situation. So that's all the news wrapped up for this week.
Or last thing, I don't know if you want to discuss it, but talking about the England Sri Lanka tour.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw, but Joe Root said that even if Foakes was in the team, he wouldn't give him the gloves. He would stick with Butler. I know you're a massive fan of obviously Ben Foakes. That's wicketkeeping, and so am I as well. But that literally there was an article on it on Sky, I think. It was on Sky Sports, I think. And he basically said that, obviously Joss Butler's going to be in a team because the 150, etc. And then he said, I'm sure at some point during the tour, Ben Foakes will get a chance. But he said, I wouldn't be quick to relinquish the gloves to him, which in my mind means that he would get picked, but he would play as a batsman, and then Joss Butler would keep. Which to me, I think the reason why he's saying that is because obviously Joss Butler will be he'll be in every team in every country, in every England test team in every country, basically, pretty much. And so that's why you keep him on the gloves, to be consistent. But Ben Foakes is such a good keeper. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't utilize that. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's a bit silly, but I can see where Root is coming from, considering looking forward to the India series. They probably want Butler to practice his keeping, especially to the spinners on subcontinental pitches. However, as a captain, you want your fielders in the best positions, and surely that applies to your wicketkeeper. So I can see why he would want Butler to wicket keep, but Foakes can make an amazing catch and can save you 50, 60 runs behind the stumps, and he's a better wicketkeeper than Butler. End of. So I guess that's up to Joe Root to decide. And I think there's probably a bit of arrogance from England, because they're probably thinking Sri Lanka, we can beat them even if Butler is wicket keeping. We don't need Stokes or Archer to play in this series. We can rest them. A bit of arrogance. So I'm hoping Sri Lanka can turn up and beat them. And yeah, that's what I'm feeling. What do you think, Fizan?
Yeah, I'd love to see Sri Lanka do a good job for sure, I think. And yeah, I agree with you. I think you have to have folks keeping. I just don't understand it because, and also to be honest with you, you said about the India tour, but like the pictures are not too dissimilar in India than they are to Sri Lanka. So if Ben Foakes is going to perform well in Sri Lanka as he did in the last tour, then surely you'd have him in your team in India anyway. So
that's true.
Then he should be keeping there. So I just either way, I think if you're going to play him, you have to utilize his best skills, and one of his best skills is keeping. He's a good batsman as well, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think you have to have him in there. And Sri Lanka, I hope everyone's fit and that they do a good job. And interesting that they've also bringing along a psychologist, England, which I think is now pretty. Is that pretty standard now? I'd assume for most.
Yeah, it's standard now. I think it's come to light because of the COVID restrictions and the bubbles and the isolation the players have to go under. So I think hopefully after COVID, these psychologists do remain in the team, because I think your mental fitness is just as important as your physical fitness. So yeah, definitely a good thing for players and for the other members of staff to have a team psychologist. That's definitely step in the right direction.
For sure, yeah. Before we go on to awards, actually, I just want to very, very briefly say that obviously Sourav Ganguly suffered a heart attack, so I think he's stable, but hopefully he recovers from it, because I think he holds BCCI president. That's what he is. Obviously, former Indian cricketer as well, and obviously I'm Pakistani, but even then, obviously, it's not nice to see someone having a heart attack. So hopefully he recovers and has a full recovery and does what he does for Indian cricket. I'm sure is their president. Yeah.
That's for sure. Wishing you all the best, Ganguly. So that's that. Is anything else you want to add, Fizan?
Sorry. Sorry, there were just a couple of points, especially the Foakes one. I just really wanted to talk about.
No, it's fine. No,
the Foakes one. I know that you're a big fan of him as well, and it just really baffled me, like what Root said about that. And yeah, I wanted to chuck in the Ganguly one just because to show that I'm not just a horrible biased Pakistani fan, that I do actually have a heart as well.
Yeah, you do have a heart, don't you worry. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to the awards for this week. So this is probably the moment you've all been looking forward to this week. So let's start off with the player of the week. I've got one name in hand. So we're looking from. So when did we do our last video? Last week. So last Sunday to today. So I believe all 3 test matches, so all Boxing Day test matches were still going ahead. So we could give it to, one that comes to mind is Fawad Alam. You could go for Kane Williamson. You could go for Rahani. Who else could we go for? I want to, Duplessis, Epic 199.
Yeah,
Jameson. Go for that. Jameson bowling well.
Because Jameson bowled really. My pick would be Jameson just because he bowled really well in the first test, and then he just got a fifer. So
today.
So it's kind of stuck in my mind. But
shall we go for Jameson then? Because we always pick a batsman.
Yeah, he's in form as well, and I think the fact that he got a fifer just now has pushed me to thinking it should be him, just because the spell that he bowled, that ball to Fardon was ridiculous, and he's that type of bowler who he's 6'8", and then he gets it to move off the seam both ways, and I'm pretty sure he can swing the ball both ways as well. And he bowls a pretty foolish length. And the ball that he gave to Fardon was a bouncer, but he doesn't bowl bouncers very often. But when he does, they're lethal. And obviously Fardon literally didn't know what was going on. He basically tried to duck out the way. I think he tried to sway out the way, but it was too late. And then he got caught.
He was following him as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because he's horrible to face, because it's nasty, because he runs in sometimes from a wide position on the crease, and basically it comes in at an angle, and then it goes off the seam. And it can either, and sometimes the batsman, you think it's going to go away from you, but what will happen is, just as you said, it follows you, and he has that ability to do it. And it's just, he's a very, very good bowler, and he's had a ridiculous start to Test cricket. But yeah, he's just, I don't know. At the moment, he just seems like the best bowler around at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, certainly someone to look forward to this year in especially Test cricket. So yeah, well done, Kyle Jamieson. To add to your 5-wicket haul, you've won this week's star player of the week. So well done to you. In terms of team of the week, who should I go for? I think India, to be honest. I'll say India, but considering, they got bowled at 36 in the first test match, to come back and put in a well-rounded performance against Australia away, I'm going to go for India for team of the week.
Yeah. What about Perth Scorchers? They won by 96 runs today.
Who cares
I'm
about
just joking.
T20
I
cricket?
know, just joking. I knew you were going to say that. That's why I said it. But yeah, I'm happy to go with India. Yeah.
Good. In terms of player that needs to do their homework,
Oh, Kusal Mendes. He's been really bad, Venu.
Has he?
Sorry to say it. He got a duck today, and I'm pretty sure he got at least one duck in the first test match, and he got, I think, it's single digits in the other innings. And he's doing a bit of a Darren Bravo at the moment.
all right,
so
fine. Kusa Mendes it is.
they need to snap him back into action, I think.
Yeah, Kusa Mendes it is.
Or Shah Masood, to be honest. Shah Masood's been terrible as well. He got duck yesterday.
That's true.
So I'm happy to share it between both.
Let's share it between Shah Masood and Kusal Mendes. Now, team that needs to do the homework has to be Sri Lanka, surely. They've just been poor.
Yeah. It's difficult, though, because I do feel sorry for them because of the injuries. But, yeah, I think... Yeah, I guess you have to go Sri Lanka. Or even Australia, maybe.
True. It's a case of Australia.
I think Australia, actually, more than Sri Lanka, because I feel like the injuries do play a big part. So I think Australia's batting. Steve Smith. Steve Smith is another one, actually. Maybe we should have put him as player to do his homework, because he's been really bad.
Yeah, Smith, Labuschagne, more so Smith, because if Smith doesn't fire, Australia are basically screwed, aren't they?
God, maybe we should split between 3 people, because he's been terrible as well.
Right, let's add Smith to that. I think he does need to do his homework, Smith.
Yeah, 100%.
He's filling his epic, record so far in Test cricket. This year has been. It's like this summer has not been great.
Yeah, do you remember when we did the awards for the 2020 review, and what was it? His ODI average was like 60 odd, which is obviously amazing. But you don't normally think it's going to be that high. Normally, you think it'll be 40. Kind of 50 maybe touching, and then his test average you think it would be in the 50s, 60s, but it was like 18 or something, which is so surprising. So hopefully he comes to form. But yeah, I think in terms of team, I would say Australia, their middle order, just up until it's just everything apart from their tail, which always seems to bring some runs and wag, which is good. The rest of their batting is pretty poor at the moment. And they've got the players to do it, so it's bad application, I think.
That is true. So let's say Australia and more so their batting.
Yeah, because bowling, I think it's a bit harsh on the bowlers. They've done quite well.
Yeah, definitely. Can't blame them. So yeah, let's put Australia as the team that needs to do the homework. And I'm looking forward to the next test match that begins on Wednesday in Sydney. What's the other awards that we do? Is that it?
Yeah, I think so, unless you want to add something.
I think that's all the awards. What are we looking forward to?
What are we looking
coming up this week?
I'm looking forward to tomorrow, actually, the Pakistan-New Zealand day. I think that'll be really good.
Yeah.
I know you're probably looking forward to the Australia-India test as well.
Yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to the Pakistan-New Zealand one, just because I think we're in a decent position. I think it'll be competitive, but I think also it'll be interesting to see how Australia bounce back. I think in that third test, hopefully they can come back, and also interested to see whether these players that are now being quarantined for India, they're going to be allowed to play, and what's going on, because it just seems like chaos at the moment and drama with that test. So I don't know whether
we'll have to see
what's going to happen with it.
You keep tuned in. So yeah, I'm looking forward to test matches. I think the Sri Lanka South Africa test match is basically a South Africa win. I don't see how Sri Lanka are going to win that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to day 2 tomorrow. See how New Zealand respond.
Elgar's now on 68 not out, so
yeah, he's basically to be honest, he just feels like
batting for fun. Yeah,
having net bowlers at him, so I don't blame him getting 68 runs. So so looking forward to those test matches starting next week. I'm looking forward to the England tour of Sri Lanka that's coming this month. Yeah, so a lot of cricket to look forward to this week, and I think that's everything really that we've covered for this week.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Fazan?
Yeah, 100%. Do you think we should add for next week a couple of awards for like most disappointing player, or not most disappointing because that's homework, maybe most improved player, something
Or
like
the
that.
funniest moment
Or
of the week?
funniest moment as well. Yeah, that'd be good as well. We should add that.
Yeah, we could do that for next week. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for tuning in to Venu's Weekly Cricket Catch Up. Thank you, Fazan, for joining me.
Thank you for having me on.
A pleasure as always. Thank you. So yeah, thank you for watching. And before you leave, please do like Fazan's. Please do like this video and also like Fazan's Quality Shot channel.
Subscribe somewhere over here.
Yeah, subscribe, do like. And yeah, any comments on how we can improve will be most welcomed. And yeah, that's everything for this week. I'm looking forward to more cricket next week. So bye for now. See you all next week. Bye.